Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the New Jersey Devils by a score of 4-0 at the Prudential Center. And the Rangers were shut out both times this season in New Jersey. So Jacob Markstrom gets shutouts in both games. This had a 2023 Game 7 type feeling to it. Same building, obviously same opponent. Um, Different coaches for sure, and that was Gerard Gallant's last game as Ranger head coach. Um, but it had a lot of the same things, honestly, where I think it was scoreless for a while in both games. And, you knew that New Jersey kind of had the better of the play, but Igor and they were kind of hanging around. And I think it might have been scoreless going to the second period as well in that one. And there was a big shorthanded goal, which occurred in this game. The Rangers special teams is an absolute nightmare. They are 2 for their last 43 on the power play, and they've actually had 3 shorthanded goals within that span, and 3 lately. 2 shorthanded goals allowed in back-to-back games. And I think maybe 3 in the last 4 games or something like that. So in essence, the Rangers are a -1 in their last 43 power play attempts. That is very, very hard to do and to accomplish. And it speaks to the veterans on this team, which Peter Laviolette continues to put out there. And he's going down with the ship, Laviolette. He is. And he is very likely to be gone at the end of the season. And it just starts there. I mean, that's less than half the battle, way less than half the battle. Um, and it's disappointing that he wouldn't try something different. He wants to go about it this way, but um, there's a few players that, without a doubt, need to be gone and likely will be gone. Chris Kreider, Keandre Miller, in terms of significant names and players that we've been accustomed to. And Mika Zibanejad's a really interesting one because I think you have to at least see if he'll waive his no movement clause. He may not, but it's worth, I think, at least asking to see if he will. And then you explore trade possibilities from there. 6 teams to go here. This is not a playoff team. I've been saying that for a long time now. They aren't. Um, and it's just really disappointing the way they lose these games. It's quite embarrassing. There's really not a whole lot of pushback and fight in this team. Really one of the more disappointing campaigns in recent memory. And I don't know what the future holds for this team, right? I mean, sure, we can talk half glass full, glass half full and kind of tell ourselves that things will get better in the futures. I don't know that to necessarily be true. With the right moves, maybe, but is Chris Drury the one to be making those moves? I think that's another, legitimate question to be asked. And who even knows? Right. I mean, with Jim Dolan, like things are always kind of a wild card. You don't exactly know what's going to happen for better or worse. Most times worse. Um, so like they are, as I'm recording this, they are still very much mathematically alive. And so it's a little premature to start, going like post-mortem mode. But at the same time, like again, like this in a lot of ways did feel like it was the end of the season, but stranger things have happened, right? So we're not going to go there just yet, but that's not even the point, right? Playoffs is not even really what the talking discussion should be right now. It's just this veteran core is just a major, major problem. It is. And you're not going to get rid of everyone, right? It's just, you can't do that, and nor should you necessarily do that. But there are a lot of players that I think are seeing the end of the line here with the Rangers. And I think if you're Chris Drury or whoever's making the decisions, everything has to be on the table. Absolutely everything. If you want to make this, get any better. Because it's been hard to watch this team. They don't look, there isn't that fight to make the playoffs, right? It's right there for them. It's been right there for them. And I think that this team isn't all that great, right? I mean, you look at the defensemen on this team, it's a bit of a joke, honestly. Like that top 4, it's like this is not a top 4 of a team that's gonna have any bit of success. Um, and then again, it's the player personnel decisions, riding it with the veterans, having them play key power play minutes. I mean, Laviolette, like that's his problem. And it's a shame that because there are other alternatives. It's not as if he doesn't have other players that he could try that could be successful. And it sets a bad precedent as well. And I hope that with however much time is left in the season, which is not much, um, that they try to give some of these kids a chance in bigger opportunities, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So, in discussing this game, and I mean, the sad thing is the Devils, they don't even have Jack Hughes. Their best player is out for the season. Dougie Hamilton, who is their top defenseman, or one of their top defensemen, he is out. And I think he might return at some point, but didn't matter. And don't let the shot count fool you. The fact the Rangers outshot the Devils 26-16, do not let that tell you anything, because what the score was what it really kind of deserved to be. Now, granted, there was an empty net goal, right? But um, you could never feel good as a Ranger fan in watching this game. And Jacob Markstrom wasn't tested much. One of the easier, I mean, it was a 26 save shutout, one of the easier ones you'll find. And I feel bad for Igor Shesterkin, who's done everything he can to try to will this team into the playoffs, and he's just not going to be able to do it. He's just not. And if I'm him, I'm very, very frustrated by what they are. The way they're playing in front of him is just truly embarrassing. The lineup for the Rangers was the same. I think there was a thought that Matt Rempe maybe would return. That didn't happen. I think they would have been better served if it somehow did. Would it have changed the result? No, probably not. But I think that it would have, you know, you would have been, the fourth line, I think would have been, if nothing else, more effective. But same again, like it bothers me as far as the defense is concerned. Carson Soucy is horrendous, and Keandre Miller. I mean, the guy is a turnover machine. It's a matter. He's lackadaisical. There's something just mentally not quite right with Keandre. It's the way it's always been, and that will always be his issue. The physical abilities are there. I mean, without a doubt, he was born with the traits to be a really, really dynamic and very good hockey player. But it's just, it's the same old issues with him. And Carson Soucy is hard to watch. That is a bad trade by Chris Drury, who dealt Riley Smith and gets back a high third round pick and then immediately trades it to Vancouver for Carson Soucy. Um, I don't have any faith that this guy's going to turn it around with the Rangers. I mean, obviously not this season; it's almost over. But even next season, like I have no desire, or appetite to see him getting any regular minutes in regular games with the Rangers. He is brutal. Um, and just the fact of the matter is, to me, like the third pair is the only one that's like, okay, like that's a third pair. That's a competent enough third pair, and that's not really. I'm not trying to necessarily give praise to Vakanainen and Schneider, but in this given lineup, like okay, that seems like to me like it's not like a horrendous third pair. That top four though, Soucy, Fox, Miller, Borgen, like that's not a top four that's going to do anything for you. And I could talk about all four of them negatively if I want, and we'll get there a little bit naturally in discussing this game. But and then the forward lines, they were the same as they were last game, but by the end of it, they did make some changes. It didn't do anything, but Othman was moved off of the Panarin Trocheck line and onto the Zibanejad Cooley line. And then therefore it ended up being like Bradzinski, I think, played a little bit with Panarin and Trocheck, but then I'm pretty sure I saw Perot was, I think, with Panarin and Trocheck, and then so they're Bradzinski. They were basically the right wing spot was getting moved around, is basically what it was. So we'll see what next game looks like. There are struggles up and down the lineup. I mean, I'm just, in just going through names in no particular order. Like JT Miller had a brutal game. And I think, he's been kind of flying under the radar as someone that really has not been playing great hockey lately. The stats may tell another thing, and he is one of the best players of the team and this and that, but he has not been great. Um, again, there's a lot of different places to go here, obviously, but let's just discuss the game. It was not a pretty one for the Rangers. First period, they were lucky to come out of there scoreless. The Devils outshot them 7-4, but it was a bad period by the Rangers. Could not generate much of anything. There was a bad Keandre Miller turnover that led to a good chance by, I think, Stefan Nason. Um, just, again, very fortunate to leave that period scoreless. But again, another example where it's commonplace. We each had 4 shots to goal in the first period. And at this point, you don't even really bat an eye. It's okay. Like that just kind of is what it is. Second period, I think the Rangers' best part of their game was probably the first half of the second period is when they had their best opportunities and they were carrying the play. And at 5:23, Justin Dowling high sticks Keandre Miller. And what do you know? That probably doesn't score. And to make things worse, They give him a breakaway to Jesper Bratt, and Shesterkin makes the save. That was the best chance. Even though the Rangers, again, they did have opportunities. Mika Zibanejad having one of the better ones. It's a shame that that first unit basically got 80 to 90% of the time within that 2 minutes. And it was basically the five-man unit of the number one power play, except Kreider. So it was Trocheck, JT Miller, Zibanejad, Panarin, Fox. And and Laviolette kind of is saying in some of these press game, these pressers, oh yeah, that the second unit deserves more time than the first unit. Well, you said that, but you didn't actually do anything about it. It was still the same people running them out there every single time. And so Rangers don't score in that power play. So the struggles continue. But now the special teams, which is a major, major talking point of this game at 10:52. Again, after the Rangers were playing pretty well to start in this period, Sam Carrick interferes with Nason. And a bad shift by Carrick as well. That kind of led to this. I think it was a offensive zone draw by the Devils, and Carrick fell down at one point, lost his stick, and eventually in front of the net takes an interference penalty. So now Devils in the power play, their first power play of the game, score immediately. Timo Meyer, 23rd goal of the season from Luke Hughes and Hischier at 10:56. So 4 seconds after, on a face-off win, Trocheck loses the draw clean, and then JT Miller is too slow to get over there, and it would be a uh, a Timo Meyer one-time slap shot goal where Igor could do nothing about it. Just a bad job as far as again losing the draw clean and letting it be that easy. And so the Devils, just like that, Rangers have had struggles in the power plays for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they in 4 seconds make it 1-0. The Rangers then, though, get another power play very quickly. Dawson Mercer trips Alexi Lafreniere at 11:49. Um, and then at the end of that play, it would be Timo Meyer and Vincent Trocheck both going to the box for penalties as well. Meyer for cross-checking, Trocheck for roughing. And so it's 5-on-4 Rangers with no Trocheck. So Kreider takes that spot. Again, a joke on the part of Peter Laviolette. Okay, like Kreider was the odd man out. So now he goes back in. Not surprised at all, but like just terrible as far as personnel decisions. And Jesper Bratt scores a shorthanded goal, his 21st goal of the season from Hischier and Dillon at 12:23 to give the Devils a 2-0 lead. One of the easiest shorthanded goals you ever see. Like the Rangers basically had four players deep, 3 to 4 players deep, 3 players behind the Devil net. And so all it took was Brandon Dillon make a simple pass. Ray Ferraro was making a big deal about it. It was a simple pass to basically set loose what was kind of a 3-on-1, which became, like, I guess, a 2-on-1. And Adam Fox played it very poorly. This Ranger team, the defensemen specifically, usually just let Shesterkin get the shooter, who in that case was Hischier. Instead, Fox goes to Hischier, and it's a wide open Brad. It's just simple. Like, I'd rather Igor get that clean look one-on-one and just take away, let him have Hischier, stay close to him, but basically take Bratt out of the equation. And so just very, very, poorly played all the way around by that power play crew. And again, that does remind me of Adam Fox, who in that game 7, again, the stakes are completely different here, but in that 2023 game 7, Adam Fox made an egregious play that led to, I think, what was the first Devil goal, and that was a shorthanded goal. Just some things never change. And so that makes it 2-0 New Jersey, and that would be your score at the end of 2 periods. And with this Ranger team, they're the only team in the NHL that has not come back from a multi-goal deficit. Embarrassing. I mean, that is hard to do. That is very, very hard to not have a single win and only 1 point earned when trailing by 2 goals in a game. I mean, you see that happen all the time where it's nothing. And this team is just dead. Like another situation, I don't even recall in my analysis here if I've even brought up the fact that, again, and I don't think I did, a failed 3-game winning streak. They have not had a 3-game winning streak since November. That is crazy. Even like some of the worst teams in the league are finding a way to get a 3-game winning streak. Not this team. So 2-0 Devils at the end of 2. We go to the third period. Rangers, they outshot the Devils 11-4 in the third, but it wasn't like that. The Rangers really never were a true threat. And the thing is that there's not even much to bring up as far as the young players, the Perreaults, the Offmans. There's nothing for me to even say much on this. Um, what are some other things to discuss, I guess, that are non-goal related? I mean, in the third period, there was a chance that actually leads to a penalty, I think. So I think that's how it went down. Will Borgen takes a penalty at 6:22. He hooks Paul Cotter. There was a situation where Chris Kreider gets the puck right in front of the net. It was a turnover by Jacob Markstrom. And Kreider, who his back was facing Markstrom, to be fair, but still, everything is in slow motion with Kreider. He doesn't care. Like he really like his pace of play is like 20 times less than everyone else on the ice. It's really, really sad to watch. And Kreider decides to pass the puck and nothing comes of it. It's just this guy is a complete liability and a detriment to this team. And so eventually that leads to a Borgen penalty. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that went down. The Rangers do kill that off, but the Devils did have some chances. And then the Devils take a 3-0 lead. At 14:59, Timo Meier scores again, his 24th goal of the season from Casey and Mercer. And, it's annoying with Mercer, with Timo Meier. I feel like in some ways he has been a th kind of a thorn on the Rangers' side since he's been a Devil. He's very annoying, like, at least from my perspective, he's very annoying. Um, it's not worth getting into, but, like, as a Ranger fan, you don't wanna see anyone do well on the Devils, but especially Meier, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the fact, like, there was and look, this is another conversation for another day. He was a potential range retard a couple years ago, where the Devils decided to trade for him, give him a huge extension. This was the year of where the Rangers got Patrick Kane and Vlad Tarasenko. But at 14:59, the Devils take that 3-0 lead and just really terrible defenses. Dawson Mercer easily gets by Carson Soucy. And you see it happening in real time. It's okay. This isn't a surprise. And eventually, Will Borgen is well out of position. I feel like Borgen has struggled a little bit. I feel like we haven't discussed that Borgen's had a little bit more struggles lately. Again, like lower on the list of problems, but it just leads to a situation again where it all started with Soucy, where it's a very easy cross-ice diagonal sort of pass from Casey to Timo Meier, and there's nothing that Igor could do about it. It kind of trickled. He tried to make the save, but it trickled by him. Gives the Devils 2-0 lead. Rangers pull the goalie down 3-0, and Nico Hischier gets an empty net goal. His 35th goal of the season from Brad at 16:12, and the Devils win 4-0. So the Devils take 3 of 4 games from the Rangers this year, and the 3 games they won were very lopsided. I was actually the one Ranger game I went to this point this year. The one game I went to at Madison Square Garden. I will likely be attending one more game actually, Rangers Panthers in Florida, but that's again we'll discuss that when it gets there. But Devils Rangers, they on December 2nd lost 5-1 blowout. December 23rd, the game that is more memorable for bad reasons. They lost 5-0. Then January 9th, the Rangers did win at Madison Square Garden on a Sam Carrot overtime winner, 3-2. And then in this game, it was 4-0. Devils match up very, very well against the Rangers. There's just no doubt about it. That speed is a problem for this Ranger team. And so now their next game is against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And look, for all intents and purposes, like the Rangers are very, very unlikely to make the playoffs, but given the mathematics of things as I'm recording this, like that Lightning game, look, they're all basically must wins at this point, but like just realistically speaking, if you do win that Tampa Bay game, it does kind of give you a little bit more of a leash on things. There's really no reason to believe they'll beat Tampa based on the way the Rangers have played this year, recently, this and that. There is no reason to believe that, but they have responded after some bad losses. It may not result in a win. So I'm curious to see if they're basically going to be checked out at this point or if they are going to give it their best shot. We'll see, because it says a lot about the players and it's hard to believe in this club, who again, a disgraceful, bad game by the New York Rangers, a Saturday matinee game at Prudential Center. They lose to the New Jersey Devils by a score of 4-0.